friends, how are you? In this video, we'll discuss about class and object in Python. So we will cover introduction to class and object, the init function, object methods, modify object properties, delete object properties, pass statement, component of the class and object, built-in class attribute, self variable, constructor, types of variables, instance variable, static variable, local variable, delete instance variable from the object, changing the values of the instance variable, types of method, instance method, class method, and the static method, setter and getter method, passing member of one class to another method class, inner classes, multi-level inner classes, garbage collector, destructor, and many more. Okay, so class and object. So Python is an object-oriented programming. Actually, Python supports both object-oriented as well as procedural. Okay, a class is a blueprint or prototype that is defined by the user to use to build the things, to build the object. So classes allow us to group data and functionality together. Okay, so class is nothing but a blueprint or the plan of any object. So we'll see the class creation. So how you can create a class? So we have to write class, then class name. We have to give our class name, then semicolon. Here we mention the variables name as well as the method names. So you can see here class, you can see this particular output. Class is equal to my class. Name of the class is this one. Data is equal to 7. It's a class variable. Obj underscore 1 is equal to my class. So this is what our obj underscore my class. This is what our class name. Obj underscore 1, this is what our object. And we can access this particular data using obj underscore 1 dot data. So if you execute it, we can get the output 7. Are you getting my point? So we can see the output. Output is what? It's a 7. Now question is, data variable is there. Can you access the data like this way? Print data. Can you get the data? It will receive a name error. The data is not defined. So definitely, if you want to access this particular data, we can access using the object name. Achha, can you access it using the class name? Can you access it using the class name? Yeah, we can access it using the class name also. Is it okay? Achha, remember one thing, this is what our class variable. So we'll see three different variables are there one by one. So what is class and object? Class is nothing but the blueprint or the plan. Suppose name of the class is P. Here three attributes are there: age, weight, and height. The behaviors are, the methods are walk, talk, and manners. So how we can define the class? So you can write class P. Here we can define age, weight, height. Okay, we can define the behavior or the method also. Walk, okay, talk, manners, and so on. So this is nothing but a blueprint. Okay, now if you write like this way, Sachin is equal to P. That means what? P is nothing but what? Class name. If you write like this way, that means we want to create an object name is Sachin. We want to create another object, say Kapil. So in this way, we can create the objects. Here the 4 objects are there: Sachin, Kapil, Dhoni, and Muralidharan. All the person will follow the same attribute and the behavior. Content may be the different, but the attributes are same. Attributes should be the same. Behavior should be the same. And content of the attribute may change, may be different. It depends on the object. Because Sachin age is different than Kapil's age. Dhoni's weight is different than Muralidharan's weight. Are you getting my point? So class contains both variables and methods. Class contains both variables as well as the methods. Variables can be used to represent the properties. These are nothing but the properties. And method can be used to represent the actions. These are the actions. A user-defined prototype or blueprint for an object that specifies a set of attributes and that applies to all objects in the class. So these are the properties that is applicable to all the objects. Class variables and methods are the main components which are accessed using the dot notation. So to access something, to access any particular attribute, how you can access it? Using Sachin dot age. It will return age of Sachin. If you write Dhoni dot height, yeah, it should be the A. Age is capital age is in capital letter because it is defined in capital. Dhoni is height. So Dhoni is object. We can access this one using the object name. Suppose we want to access this method. How we can write? Dhoni dot walk. Dhoni dot walk. This is what dot. Similarly, we can write Sachin dot talk. Sachin dot talk. So we can access the behavior using the object like this way. We can access the attribute using the object name. So Sachin, Kapil, Dhoni, these are what? These are nothing but the object. And how to define the object? Just we have seen. Sachin is equal to P. P is nothing but what? Our class. Okay. So similarly, one car is there. Blueprint of the car is there, where the attribute is the steering is the attribute, wheel is the attribute, rear view is the attribute, mirror is the attribute, okay, horn is the attribute, lights is the attribute. Achha. What is the behavior? Running, mileage, okay, brake. These are what the behavior. But for the using the class say car, we can create the object C1, C2, C3, C4. So C1, C2, C3, these are the real thing. But this is nothing but the blueprint. It contains both attribute as well as the actions or methods. All the class level, all the objects follow the same attribute as the behavior, but the content of the attribute may be the different. Is it okay? Now, init function is there. Every class, you can see here, every class has a function called init that is invoked every time the class is started automatically. The init function is used to set initial values to object attributes while the object is being constructed. So, init function we use for the constructor. We automatically, while we create one object, automatically it will invoke this particular function and we use it, or interpreter use it to set the content of the initial parameter, initial values. The self parameter is a reference to the current instance of the class and is used to access variable that belong to the class. So to access the variable, instance variable, we have to use the self. So we can see example. Sachin is equal to my class, Kapil is equal to my class. So two variables are there. We can see here two variables are there, two objects are there. We are creating two objects of the class my class. Name is my class. Here self.age, self.weight, self. These are the instance variables. These are the variables. So age, weight, height of say Sachin. What is Sachin? Sachin is an object. Sachin is equal to my class. Sachin is an object. This is one object. Kapil is another object. Okay, it contains the attribute age, weight, and height. We are passing the parameter 36, 72 to 162. Constructor, it will execute automatically and age will be what? 36, weight 72, height 162, and it will store into the initial parameter age, weight, and height. So Sachin's age is 36, weight is 72, and height is 162. How you can set these values? Using the init function. So init function automatically set the initial value of the parameters of the attribute, and it will invoke it automatically. It will execute automatically. We are not calling any init function here. And for Kapil, we are passing the parameter 56, 65, 172. So age will be what? 56. Kapil says is 56. Weight is 65, and the height is 172. And how you can access this variable? Using the object name. Sachin age is 30. Sachin weight is 72. Sachin's height is 162. Kapil's height is 172. So this is nothing but a constructor. So through constructor, we can initialize our instance variable. Age, weight, and height. These are the instance variable. And it will automatically invoke this one. It will automatically invoke this particular function. Is it okay? Next concept is what? Instance method, object method. So what is that? Object can also contain the method. So you just see this particular. Sachin is equal to my class. The name of the class is my class. Name of the object is Sachin. We are passing the parameter 36, 72, 162. So we are passing the parameter 36, 72, 162. And using the init function, we initialize the instance variable age, weight, and height. Def my func. This is nothing but our method. This is called our instance method. And if you want to execute the instance variable, we have to pass the self, and it is mandatory. Only self dot, using the self we can access the instance variable. So self dot age means we want to access this one. Self dot weight, we want to access this one. Self dot height, we want to access this one. Using the object name, we can access the method. Method name is my func. So if you execute it, it will print the age, weight, and height of Sachin. Age, weight, and height. Similarly, we can define another object Kapil, and using this object Kapil, we can access this particular method. How we can access? Kapil dot my method, Kapil dot my func. So when we will execute it, it will print the age of Kapil, 56, 65, age, weight, and height of Kapil. And these are what? 60, 70, and 172 respectively. Is it okay? So class name, constructor, method, we have to pass self. Using self only, we can access the variable. Okay. Object, class, we are passing the parameter here to initialize the instance variables. We can access the method name using the object. So the self argument is a reference to the current instance of the class, and it is used to access the class variable. Definitely, to access the class variable, we have to use self. Modify object property. Now we can see here, what is the age of Sachin? Age of Sachin is 36. We want to change it. How you can change it? Sachin dot age. Now if you write Sachin dot age equal to 49, and if you print Sachin dot my func, so my func will return what? My func will return Sachin age, weight, and height. Are you getting? So it will return Sachin age. So initially it was 36. Now it is what? 49. But height and weight both are same. No changes there. So if you want to change the content of the variable, instance variable, so we can change it readily. Object dot the instance variable name. Instance variable name is equal to new value. We can set the new value. Here new value is what? 49. Instance variable name is what? Age. Sachin is the object. Are you getting my point? Now we can delete the properties also, delete the object also. So we can print Sachin dot age. Age is 36. If you read delete del Sachin dot age, it will delete the Sachin's age. Okay, so you can see here. First of all, execute it. The age is, you can write here, the the age is 36. Okay. If you execute this one, del Sachin dot age, and if you once again execute it, you will receive an error message because here you have removed the age. Okay. Acha. Uh, After that, it will remove the age of the Sachin only. If you want to execute the Kapil's age, it is okay. So we can execute it. We can see age is 36. We have deleted it. After that, we want to access the age, but it will receive an error. It will create an exception because already we have deleted the age. Already we have deleted the age. But since it is exception is there, it will not execute further. It will come out from the program. But if you want to know the Kapil's age, easily it is okay. It will print the Kapil's age. So we can uh, we can uh, we can do this like this way, and this one. Okay, that already is there, so it is not okay to print. Now if you Kapil is not defined, Kapil dot age is there, but Kapil is there, na? Here Kapil is there. Kapil is there, no issue. Kapil is there. So Kapil dot age, you can see here Kapil dot age. Kapil is there and age is also there. So can you print it here now? Yeah, 60 is there. So we have deleted the content of the object age from the object Sachin. We haven't deleted age from the object Kapil. Achha, one important concept is that is for pass statement. So class definition cannot be empty. However, if you have an empty class definition for any reason, add the pass statement to prevent an error. Suppose you have decided that you have to create one class. Name of the class say academician. But right now we don't know what to do with that particular class. In that case, we have to write pass here. We have to push pass here. Okay. So if you execute it, no problem, we can execute. But if you don't write anything, if you keep blank, and if you execute it, you'll receive an error message. Okay. So pass indicate, it helps to it helps interpreter that to say that uh, right now nothing is there, but in future something must be there inside this one, and you can execute it. You can get the, you will not receive any error. Acha. Help is there. Okay, so we have seen my class. I think my class is there. This is what our my class. Okay, we can execute it, and we want to see the my class. So you have to write help in the inside my class. If we execute it, we can see the details about the my class. Help on my class. So it is inside the module my. It is inside the module main. Okay. Name of the class is my class. Here attributes are age, weight, and height. This is what our constructor. Age, weight, and height. These are the parameters. My function is a method. What is the dictionary? What is the quick recurrence? So here data descriptions are there. So help, and if you put your name of the class, it will give details about the class. How many variables are there? What are those variables? How many methods are there? Are you getting my point? Next, self variable. Already we have discussed it. The default variable self always point to the current object. We can access object instance variable and instance method using the self. Using the self, we can access instance variable and instance method. Just we'll discuss about all this. What do you mean by instance variable? What do you mean by instance method? There is one concept that is called constructor. What is that constructor? Constructor is used to declare or initialize instance variable. So to declare and initialize, we use constructor. Definitely using the init. Just we have seen. constructor can take at least one argument, self. Okay. The main purpose of the constructor to declare an instance variable. We can define constructor like this way. Okay. At the time of object creation, constructor executed automatically. Constructor is non-essential. Okay. So it is not essential. As you can see here, in this particular object, the first object, no constructor is there. Here no constructor is there. Still we can execute it. Hence it is non-essential. Okay. So in this case, this is what our constructor. Okay. In this case, this is what our constructor. Are you getting? Are you getting my point? So here no constructor is there. Okay. So we can see here, name of the class is my class. Sachin is equal to my class. Sachin is the object name. We are passing parameter 36, 72, 162. So it receives 36, 72, 162 here. This is nothing but our constructor. Age, weight and height, these are the instance variable. And we can, this is nothing but our class method. We can access, definitely we have to pass the self here inside the constructor as well as the method, and we can access the instance variable using the self dot. Okay, and we can print it. Definitely we can access the method using the object. Sachin is the object. So using the object we can access this particular function or method, that is my function, and if you execute it we can get the output. Hi there, my age is 36. My age is 36. My weight and heights are 72 and 162 respectively. Okay. Now we'll discuss about types of variables. We'll discuss about three types of variable. Instance variable, it is called object level variable. Static variable, it is called class level variable. And local variable, it is called method level variables. Okay. So instance variables is varied from object to object. Okay. For every object creation, a separate copy of instance variable is created. Okay. Declaration of instance variable, how to declare it? Inside constructor by using self variable. So using self variable, we can declare instance variable. Inside method by using self variable. Okay. And outside of the class by using object reference variable. So we can declare like this way. So using self variable as well as using the object. Okay. Now, suppose you can see the example. First one, inside constructor. So here we can see using self variable. Definitely already you know what is constructor. Now inside a constructor we can declare instance variable using self keyword. So already we have seen it, how to do this one. So here you can see the use of self variable. Now class, my class, name of the class is what? My class. Okay. Rana is equal to my class. My class object is Rana is the object of my class. Okay. This is what our constructor. Self dot age. This is age is nothing but our instance variable. And definitely we can use self variable inside constructor. We can use self variable to access it, self dot age. Similarly, inside the instance method also we have to use self variable. So if you want to print the age, so you have to write self dot age. So self dot age, this is nothing but the example of instance variable. Okay. Acha. So if you access it, so we can access this particular method using the object Rana dot my function. So that means we want to access this particular function, and if you execute it, we can get the output. Hi there, my age is 24, which you have passed, which you have set. Okay, and if you write like this way, Rana dot dictionary, so we will see in detail later in later 6 part. So it will print the variable. So the variable of this Rana is what? It is age, only one, and the content is what? 24. Are you getting my point? Okay. Inside instance method, just we have seen how we can use it. So definitely, name of the class is what? My class. Rana is the object. Okay, this is what our class, this is what our constructor. Self.age, age is nothing but the instance variable. This is instance variable, value is 24. This is what our method, name of the method is my function. Self.hobby. So inside the method also we can define the instance variable. Self.hobby is equal to Coco. Hobby is Coco, and here we print the content self.age. So if you call this particular method using the object, we can get the answer, hi there, my age is 24. Definitely we can access the self variable also. We can access the instance variable using the object name. So Rana.age, it will print the age of this the Rana, and my hobby is Rana.hobby. So the output is what? My hobby is Coco. So you can see here instance variable can be defined inside the constructor as well as inside the method. Definitely we have to use self to use this one. And if you print the dictionary, the output is what? Age as well as hobby. Two variables are there. So definitely to print the variable, we have to use object name dot dictionary. Okay, are you getting my point? Okay. Now outside the class by using the object reference variable. So remember one thing, we can define the variables outside the class also. So here Rana is equal to my class. So name of the object is what? Rana. Okay, name of the class is my class, and this is what our constructor. So definitely self.age, it is the instance variable, the value is 24. Self.hobby, hobby, it is Coco, it is also instance variable, and we are accessing the instance variable using the self. Okay, now we can see if you print it here, you can print it and we can get the things. You can see the output. First time if you print the dictionary, it is only age is there. Second, we call the function. Calling the function means what? We are declaring the hobby also. Second time we print the dictionary. Here you can see age as well as hobbies are there. Now we want to introduce one more. You want to introduce one more variable. So how can you introduce? Using the object name. So Rana.measure. Suppose we want to introduce measure also. Measure is BTech. So this is nothing but the instance variable. So you are declaring the instance variable outside the class, and display measure, the output is what? BTech. And once again, if you declare the dictionary, Rana.dictionary, the output is what? This one, age, hobby, and measure. Okay, so we can define instance variable. We can see we can define instance variable inside the constructor, inside the method, and outside the class also. Definitely using the object name. Are you getting my point? Okay. Now delete instance variable from the object. Suppose we want to delete it. Definitely we can delete it. So Rana is equal to my class, Mahi is equal to my class. So two objects are there, Rana and Mahi. Two objects are there. Okay. Now definitely my class, it contains two instance variable, age and gender. Age and gender. Age is 24, gender is male. Okay, and this is what our instance, these two are the instance variable. Self.hobby, it is also instance variable. Okay, now when you call my function, it will delete the gender part. So delete self.gender. Here we delete the instance variable. Are you getting my point? Okay, now Rana, suppose display the number of instances, Rana.dictionary. Here you can see the output is what? Two variables are there, age and gender. Okay, now when you call Rana.myForm, function will declare hobby, but it will delete the gender. Once again, if you display the dictionary, you can say age and hobby is there, but gender is not there. Since we have deleted, since we have called this particular function, this function will delete the gender part. Okay, Now outside the function also, outside the class also, we can delete the variable. Delete rana.age. We want to delete the age also, and if you display the dictionary, it will print only the hobby. That means what? We have deleted the age. Okay, so delete instance variable from the object. In this way, we can delete the instance variable. Okay. Achha. So after deleting this one, if you you can see here, we have here we have deleted. You can see here. Here we have deleted the instance variable of the Rana. We have deleted the instance variable of the object Rana. But what about the Mahi? So if you write Mahi.dictionary, you can see age and gender both are there. Are you getting? Because for Mahi, we didn't call my function. That's why it will not include hobby. Will not include as well as it will not delete the gender. But what about the Rana's dictionary, Rana's variable? Here only one variable is there, hobby. Because we have deleted gender as well as age. Okay. Next, changing the values of the instance variable. Changing the values of the instance variable. We can change the values of the instance variable. So you can see here, we have created two objects, Rana and Mahi. Okay, using the class my class. This is what our my class. Here two instance variables are there, age and gender. Content is 24 and male. We define the my function also, and we didn't define anything, so that's why you use pass. Okay, now if you display the dictionary rana.dictionary, you can see the output age and gender because already we have initialized. Next rana.myfunction, and it will, and once again we want to access, so we can get the same. No changes there because nothing is doing inside this particular, nothing is happening inside the function, inside the method. Now rana.age, we set the age, it is 33. And once again we want the dictionary. If you print the dictionary, you can see now the age is 33. Before it was 24, now it is 33. But what about the Mahis? Mahis still it is 24. Okay, that means when we call object, it will create separate instances. So this is for the Rana, object for Rana, object for Mahi. Here the variables are age and gender. Here it is also age and gender. So first time both are 24 male, 24 male. Here we change the content, Rana age is equal to 33. So it will be changed, now it is not 24, it is 33. But still Mahi's age is 24. We have seen. So in this way we can change the content of the instance variable using the object. So Rana is the name of the object. Okay. So what is the static variable? When we declare a variable inside a class but outside any method, it is called class or static variable in Python. Okay. Class or static variable can be referred to through a class. We can refer through a class. Anywhere, either in the class or outside the class, we can modify by using class name. Except the inside the class method by using the CLS variable. So static variable is what? A variable which is defined outside any method but inside any class. It is also called static variable or class variable. So class variable or static variable both are same thing. And we can access using the only the class name. But if you want to access using inside the method, we have to use CLS variable or we may use class variable, class name. Different declaration of static variable. Declare within the class but outside of any method, inside a constructor using the class name, inside the insert method using the class name, inside class method using either class name or CLS variable, okay, and inside the static method using the class name. So we can define within the class but outside the method. Inside constructor using the class name. So definitely to to define any static variable, we have to use name class name. But if it is inside the class method, if it is inside the class method, definitely we may use class name or CLS variable. We will see. And definitely inside the static method also we can access or we can define using the class name. Okay, so we can see the instance variable, we access instance variable using self, say variable name. But if it is a static variable or class variable or static variable, we have to use class name and then variable name or CLS dot variable name inside the class method. If it is inside the class method, you have to use CLS dot variable name. Otherwise, we have to define class name dot variable name. But if it is an instance variable, we have to use self to define or to access the class variable. Is it okay? So we will see one by one examples. Okay. Now you can see here potato. Just give one space in between that so that I can explain it properly. Okay. So potato is equal to vegetable, tomato is equal to vegetable. Okay. So two objects are there. Name of the object is potato and here it is tomato. Name of the class is vegetable. Name of the class is variable. Where you pass tomato and 3. So where we are passing here. So it is what nothing but our constructor. So self must be there, name and amount. Name is what? So for potato, what is the name? Name is potato. And what is the amount? Amount is equal to 3. And for tomato, what is the name? Name for tomato, name is what? Tomato. And what is the amount? Amount is 4. Okay. Okay. Now you can see here, we just remove this one. You can see here one amount is equal to 0 is there. This is nothing but static variable, which is inside the class but outside any method. Okay, it is outside any method. So this is nothing but our static variable or class variable. Is it okay? So define inside class but outside any method. So it is outside any method but inside it's a class. So amount is equal to 0. It is a static variable or the class variable. Achha. So you can see here we are passing two parameters, name and amount. So self dot name, self dot amount. These two are what? These two are the instance variable. And we want to update this amount. So how to access this one? You can access using the class name. Class name is vegetable. So vegetable dot amount plus is equal to amount. That means every time we can update this one. So once we initialize, once constructor is will execute, it will execute this line also. So it will update amount also. So what is amount? Amount is nothing but the static variable or class variable. We can access static or class variable using the class name. Here the class name is what? Vegetable. Okay. Now here my method is there where we define my method where we put vegetable dot price is equal to 0. So inside the method also we can access the we can define the static variable. So vegetable dot price is another, we can say it's another static variable or the class variable. Are you getting my point? So if you define, if you want to define inside the class but outside of any method, it is okay to give only the name. But if you want to define static variable or the class variable inside any method, we have to mention the name of the class also. So here price is also a static variable. Here amount is also a static variable. Here name and amount, these two are what? Name and this name and amount both are what? Both are uh, instance variable. Now we want to print the name as well as amount. So it will print what? It will print potato and 3, potato and 3, because to access the variable name and potato we use the object name. So we can access instance variable using the object name. Similarly, potato name and amount, it is tomato and amount is what? 4. But if you declare, if you want to access this amount, so you have to mention what? The class name. So if you mention class name, vegetable and the amount, it will give the output 7. How it is so? So first time, what is the amount? What is amount is nothing but, suppose it is vegetable dot amount. This is nothing but our class variable or static variable. First time when you call it, when you execute it, what about the value of the amount? Plus amount. Amount is what? It is 3. So it will be what? Plus 3. Second time we are creating another object and we are passing the amount is what? 4. So here we add vegetable dot amount plus amount. So now we have to add 4 also. And if you print vegetable dot amount, what about the amount? Amount will be what? 7. That's why it is 7. Acha. Here you can see so many amount is there. So many amount are there. Okay. But we can identify which one is which based on the previous part of the instruction. So here amount, this is nothing but our static variable. This amount is the instance variable. This amount is the static variable. But this amount is nothing but the parameter. Okay, it is nothing but a function parameter. Are you getting? Price is also a static variable, but we are not using here. Potato dot name, that means what? We are using object to access name. That means we want to access the instance variable. Tomato dot amount, we want to access amount using the object name. That means this is what our instance variable. Vegetable dot amount, vegetable is the name of the class. That means we want to access the class variable or the static variable. Okay. Now, how to delete static variable of a class? You can see here. So, suppose we can delete it using like this way. So, class name is what? Class name is class example. STB is equal to 10. So, this is nothing but our static variable or class variable. At the rate class method, that means what? We declare this is what our class method. We will discuss in detail. Definitely we have to pass this variable CLS, and inside the class method, if you want to access the class variable or static variable, we have to write what? CLS.csv stb. stb is nothing but our class level class variable. So del dot class variable. In this way we can delete any particular static variable or the class variable. Okay, so first time example, inside this one, if you print, we can get STBs there. After that, we call the function, we call this particular method, class method, using the class name, and after that you apply the dictionary. You can see here STB is not there. That means we have deleted the static variable or the class variable. So what is local variable? We can declare variables inside a method directly to suit the temporary requirement of a programmers. These variables are known as local or temporary variables. Local variables are produced during the method execution and discarded after the method is finished. A method's local variables cannot be accessed from outside the method. Okay, so you can see here, you can see the example. My class is the name of the class. Okay, name of the class is what? My class. T is the object. My class, this is what our class, and where you define two methods, my method 1, my method 2. Definitely we have to use self. By default we have to mention the self, and data 1 is equal to 77 and data 2 is equal to 66, and you want to print it, data 1 and data 2. So it will print the content of data 1 and data 2. Here data 1 and data 2 both are the local variables. We cannot access data 1 and data 2 outside the object, outside the class. We cannot access it. So if you write t.myMethod1, that means what? We want to access this particular method using the object t, and it will execute this particular method and it will print the variable of the variable of data 1 is data 1, and the content of data 2 is what? 66. So it will be better if you write content instead of variable. Okay. Here also it should content, and we can print it. Okay. So these two are the quicker code. Achha, can you access like this way? Can you access like print t dot data 1? Can you access it? So you can say you cannot access because my class object has no attribute data 1. So we cannot access using the object. So this is what our local variables. Only it will be applicable. It will be executed inside this method only. Similarly, data 2 is another variable. It's a local variable. We can access within this method only. We cannot access without outside this particular method. Okay. Now we can see this particular example here. Here potato is equal to vegetable and tomato is equal to vegetable. So two objects are there, potato and tomato. Okay. Now we can see here vegetable object is there, amount is equal to 0. So this is nothing but our what? Static variable or the class variable. This is what our constructor. This is what our method. Inside the constructor you use self.name, self.amount. So name and amount both are what? Instance variable. Now we want to access the static variable. Definitely we have to use class name. We can update it. Here name and amount, these are the parameter. These are formal parameters. Okay. Def my method self. So my method is a method. Here variable 1 is equal to 77. This is 77. This is nothing but our local variables. Vegetable dot price is equal to 0. This is nothing but our static variables. And we can print, we can access the local variable here. And definitely we can print instance variable. We can print the static variable, and if you call this particular my method, definitely we can print the content of the local variable also. Okay. So these are the instance variable we can access using self. These are static variable or class variable you can access using the class name, and these are what? This is nothing but our local variables. Okay, next we'll discuss about types of methods. We'll discuss about 3 types of method: instance method, class method, and static method. So what is the instance method? In method implementation, if you use instance variable, then such methods are called instance method. That is, inside the instance method declaration, we have to pass a self variable. Okay, the self variable we have seen. The self variable is used inside the instance method within the class. From outside the class, the object reference is used to call. Definitely already you have seen it. So first of all, so default is the instance variable. You can see here. You can see here. Number. Achha, you can do one thing. Instead of inserting number via keyboard, we can use something like that. Okay, so uh, leave it. Here we pass the value number 34. Okay, so we can see here NC is equal to odd even. NC is one object. Okay, NC is what? On object. Acha, odd even is not nothing but our function. We are passing the parameter 34. Here constructor is there using the initialization self dot number. So number will receive this 34 and it will convert into integer and it will store into the instance variable number. So self dot number, this is nothing but our instance variable. So this is what our constructor. Already we have seen we can define constructor using init function. Next, def display self. Display here we are using self dot number. This is nothing but we are accessing the instance variable and we are passing the self as a by default. Okay, so print the content of the instance variable. So this is nothing but our instance method. Another instance method is there, checking. So here we are passing the self and we are accessing the instance variable number. We are checking whether the number is even or not. If it is an even, it will return, it will print it is an even number. Otherwise, it will print it is an odd number. Okay, and we can access this instance method using the class, using the objects. So nc dot display means what? Object name dot displays the method name. It will print the number, that is 11. Okay, so just execute it and then you can get the output. So display, so that this particular function, this particular method will print you entered number, that is instance variable 34. Then checking, we access this particular method checking, it will return it is an what? Even number. Acha, definitely we can nc dot number, definitely we can access that particular number. You can access the instance variable using that object also, nc dot number. Are you getting my point? So this is what our instance method. So I think it is not required. Okay, I think it is not required. Okay, leave it, keep as it is. Next, setter and getter method. You just see this one. What is the difference between setter and getter? Using getter and setter method, it is also called mutator method. We can set and get the values of the instance variable. So we can see here my class, my object is equal to my class. So name of the object is what? My class, my object. My class, this is what our class. Here two methods are there, set number and get number. These two are nothing but our setter method and getter method. So self, we have to pass the self and number. So self dot number is equal to number. So in this way we can set the values of the instance variable, and if you want to know the content of the instance variable, where you have to write return self dot number. So this is what our setter method, this is what our getter method. Are you getting my point? Now if you write number is equal to 10 and if you pass 10, my object dot set number, it will change the content of the number and it will be now 10 because we executed this particular setter method. So here you can see we are not using any constructor. Here no constructor is there. That means what? Without using constructor, you want to initialize any instance variable, we may use setter and getter method. To initialize the variable, we can use setter method. To know the content of the instance variable, we may use the getter method. Okay, so my object or set method, set number. So here it will change the content of the instance variable, and we can get the instance variable by using object name dot get number. That means calling the another function, another method, and it will return what? It will return 10. Are you getting my point? And definitely outside the class name, using the object, you can access the instance variable. So my object dot number, it will return what? The 10 which you have entered. Are you getting my point? So using setter and getter method, we can access the instance variable. using setter we can initialize the instance variable, and using getter method we can get the content of the instance variable. Okay, to ensure the data encapsulation we use setter and getter. Getters are the method that help to access the private attribute, and setter the methods will help change the set of the private variable. Definitely we have seen. Okay, now question is how we can say that it ensures the data encapsulation. How you can say how it protects instance variable from the outside world. Okay, you can see this particular program first. My object is equal to my class. So name of the object is what? My object. My class is a class name. Here two methods are there, setter and getter. So here self.num is equal to x. We stored the value x, and here to know the instance variable we use getter method. It will return the instance variable num. And here we write number is equal to property. Here we write number is equal to property. It will encapsulate, it will merge these two get num and set num, those two methods, and it is nothing but a number. It will merge and store into the number. And if you write my object dot number, okay, it will store 10 inside the num using the get num. Okay, and if you print the content of the number, it will print the 10 using the get method. Are you getting my point? So number is equal to property. When you write my object is equal to num, my object dot number is equal to 10, automatically it will invoke the set num, and it will set the values of the instance variable. And once you want to print it, automatically it will invoke the get num, and it will return the values of the instance variable, which is 10. Okay. Next method is the class method. So what is the class method? It is used to access modify the class state. In a method, if you use only the class variable or the static variable, then the method can be declared as a class method. Okay, so definitely we may use, if you want to access the class variable or the static variable, we have to define the class method, or inside the class method we can access the static or the class variable. Okay, so we declare the class method explicitly by using @class method decorator or the function name class method. Are you getting? For the class method, inside the class method, we want to access it using the CLS variable. Are you getting? Class method are methods that are called on the class itself, not on a specific object instance. Okay. So we can see the example class method. Now back to back two examples are there. So class name is my class, number is equal to 7. This is what our static variable or the class variable. This is what our method display CL display, and we want to access it. We want to access the class variable. We can access using the class name. Okay. Now here display is using the class variable. Here we have to define. This is nothing but our class method. So how we can define? We can define class method within bracket. We have to pass this one. We have to pass this particular method, and it will convert display method into the class method. So this is nothing but our myClass.this, and if you execute it myClass.this, it will execute display and it will print the output is 7. Okay, now we can see some more examples, then it will be clear to you. So many examples are there. Okay, so class name is what? Student. Marks is equal to 0. This is what? Class variable or static variable. Define student marks. It's a method, and we want to access the marks. How you can access marks? Using the class name, and by default we have to pass CLS here, and we want to display the content of the class variable. So student.marks, student is the name of the class, and outside the class we can define it's a class method using this way. Class method is equal to student.studentMarks. So now student marks is nothing but our what? Class method, which is nothing but student.printMarks. And if you write student.printMarks and if you pass the parameter, 95 will be stored where? 95 will be stored in the obtained marks, that is in marks only, and it will print the student marks, which is 95. Marks obtained 95. Are you getting my point? So class variable, class name, one method is there. We have to pass CLS. Obtained mark, it is a obtained mark is nothing but our parameters. Student.marks, we are accessing the class variable. Here we are updating the class variable, and here we print the content of the class variable. Here you define that student marks is a class method, and here we access the class method. Okay, we may use decorator also. You may use decorator also. We can see what is that. We can execute it. Okay, all the programs are executable program. Okay, so you can see here, name of the class is student, marks is equal to 0 at the rate class method. That means it is defined that this is nothing but our static class method. So diff student marks is nothing but a class method. We have to pass CLS and obtain mark. So student.marks is equal to obtain marks. So that means we are updating the class variable, and here we print the content of the class variable. So remember one thing, instead of the class name, to access the class variable we may also use CLS. You can write CLS here, or here we can write CLS. Okay, and if you execute it, we can get the answer same. So inside the class method, please remember, inside the class method, if you want to access the class variable, we may use CLS or we may use class name. Is it okay? We can see one big example is there. We can see this particular example. So potato is equal to vegetable, tomato is equal to vegetable. So two objects are there, potato and tomato. Two objects are there. Vegetables, class name. Are you getting my point? So set amount, some amount is what? It is equal to 0. This is nothing but our static variable or the class level variable. Okay, so class name is what? Vegetable. Some amount, this is nothing but our static variable. So what is the content of the sum amount? Sum amount is equal to 0. This is nothing but our constructor. Here we are initializing the instance variable name amount. Here we are updating the class variable sum amount with the amount which is passing here. At the rate class method, you are using decorator. So reset amount, this is nothing but our class method. Definitely we have to pass CLS and reset value. Okay, now we want to access the class variable using CLS, we can access, and we want to print it. So here we are updating the class variable using the parameter reset value. Okay, now here we print the instance variable of name and amount for both potato and tomato. So it will print instance variable potato amount 3, instance variable tomato amount 4. Are you getting? So we have completed these two. Now we want to access the static variable access using class name. So what is the sum amount? It is 7. Why? First time when we call it, it will update the amount So amount is what? 3. So it will be what? Plus 3. Second time it is what? Second time is what? Vegetable 4. It will be 4. So what is the content of the sum amount? It is nothing but our 7. So if you print vegetable dot sum amount, it will print what? 7. Now so this is sum amount is what? Sum amount is nothing but our class variable. We want to access it. So definitely we have to define it's a class method, and CLS sum amount you have to pass some reset value. Now suppose vegetable dot reset amount. Vegetable is what? Name of the class, and dot reset amount. Definitely we can access the class method using the class name only. Dot reset amount is equal to 0. So reset value is what? Now it is 0, and it will pass into the sum amount. And if you print the sum amount, what will be the sum amount? The static variable access will be what? It will be 0 now. Are you getting my point? And the new sum amount is what? It is a 0. Just we have passed here using this particular line. Now once again we call the third object, that is onion. And here we are passing onion and 5. Okay, so what about the latest sum amount? Now it will be what? It will be 5, not the 7. And if you print the name and amount, we can get onion and 5. And once again, if you print the sum amount, it will print what? 5. Okay, are you getting my point? So this is what our static variable or the class variable. We can access static or class variable using the class method. This is what our class method, and we can access the static variable using the CLS or the class name. We can put any one. Are you getting my point? So this is what our class method. We can see another example, another different types of example. Suppose name of the class is my class. Okay. Initialize with the constructor. Here we are passing two parameters, name and age. And name and age both are what? Both are the instance variable. Both are what? Instance variable. We define def is equal to stat var static variable CLS. Okay, so instead of stat var, it will be better if you write stat meth. It will be appropriate because it's a method. Stat method. Okay, so here also you have to write stat method. Okay, and we have to return CLS, Steffi graph and 52. So definitely this is nothing but our method. So my object is equal to my class dot method. So my class dot method means what? It should be what? It should be stat method. I think it will not execute. Definitely, because it should be stat method. It should be only method. It should be STAT, stat method. And if you execute it, we can get the output. Okay, so my object is equal to my class dot stat method. So it will create one object, and that means what? My class stat method will return Steffi graph and 52, and it will store the values inside the instance variable name and age. Since if you print the my object dot name and my object dot age, it will print name is Steffi graph and age is 52. Are you getting my point? So you can see the another use of static method. We can see one more example of static method. Term 1 is equal to my class. So my class may create one object, name is term 1. My class, this is nothing but our my class, where count is the class variable. Here count is there, which is a class variable, and which is definitely, it should be the outside of the object. because it is a class variable, it's a static variable. Inside the constructor, we update the static variable using the class name, and every time we initialize any object, it will increase the content of the count, it will increment the count part. So when is constructor will be invoked while we define any new object. So term1 is equal to my class. Okay, automatically it will update the content of the count. Now it will be 1. Okay, and definitely how we can access this particular class variable using the class method. And how you define the class method using the decorator at the class method. And definitely to access the class variable we need to pass CLS, and to display the count we definitely have to cls.count. And once we call my class.n objects, when we call this particular method, it will print the number of objects created for the class is 1. It will print nothing but the count, which is nothing but our 1. Now after that we have created 3 objects one by one, back to back. We have created 3 objects. So 3 objects means what? 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So what is the present value of the count? It is 4. And once again, if you call this particular method, class method, and if you execute it, it will print what? The content of the count, which is nothing but what? 4. Are you getting? So you can see here the class variable, it is not updated, or it is not depend on the object. It is depend on the class. Next, notes on class methods. Any method we create a class will automatically be created instance method. We must explicitly tell Python that it is a class method using the @classmate decorator or classmate function. So by default it is our instance method. We have to tell Python that this is what our class method. So how you can define the class method? Definitely 2 ways are there, we have seen. The first way is what? We may apply class method function, or we may use decorator to define that this is what our class method. Okay, class methods are defined inside a class, and it is similar to the defined regular function. Inside the instance method, we use the self keyword to access the modify the instance variable, but inside the class method, we use the CLS keyword as a first parameter to access class variable. Therefore, the class method gives a control to change the class state. The class method can be called both by the class and object. Okay, and the class method can only access the class attribute, but not the instance attribute. Okay, so we can see here, this is what our, we can see here, okay, this is what our instance variable, we are accessing using self. This is what our class variable we are accessing using CLS. Inside the class method, this is what our class method, we can use this one. Achha, remember one thing, inside the class method we cannot access this instance variable. Can you access it? We can see, suppose we want to print anything. We want to print self dot name. Can you execute it? Check it. Here you can say we cannot access it. Name self is not defined. So you just remember one thing. Inside the class method, we cannot access the instance variable. Is it okay? Next, when to use class method? There is one concept that's called factory method. What is the factory method? Factory methods are those methods that return a class object like constructor for different use cases like function overloading. We can just see one example. You just see one example, it will be clear to you. St is equal to student. Student is what our class. St is nothing but our object. We are passing two parameters, Kabir and 5. Student is nothing but the class name. This is nothing but our constructor. Name and height, these two are the instance variable. We are passing two parameters, Kabir and 5, for the object st. Okay. So at the rate class method, that means for this is nothing but our static method. This is nothing but our class method. Sorry, this is nothing but our class method. So name of the class method is what? cm to fit, centimeter to fit, and definitely cls comma name dot hcm. We are passing two parameters, name and hcm, and we treat it as a name and this one as a class variable. So return cls name comma 0.0328 into hcm. That means what? It is converting centimeter to fit. So 1 centimeter is equal to 0.038 into something into fit. 0328, sorry, 0.0328. So 1 centimeter is equal to 0.0328 feet. So here we are converting centimeter to feet. So it will return CLS. So that means what? It will convert this one, these two as a class variable. Display self, this is nothing but our instance method. We are accessing the name and height. So name and height, both are what? Instance variable. Okay. Now st.display, it will display what? It will display name and the height. So Kabir's height is what? 5 feet. Okay. Now st1 is equal to student.cm 2 feet. It will create an object, and here we are passing Rajnikant and 175. So cm 2 feet will receive name as Rajnikant, hcm as 175. It will convert, it will store Rajnikant in name, and it will convert 175 into feet, and it will pass to the object st1. So st1 will be the another object, and it will store name and name as and it will initialize the name of as Rajnikant and height as multiplication of these two. So 0.0328 into 175, it will return 5.74. It will store height 5.74 in the height, and once we evoke this particular display method using the object st1, it will print name and height is nothing but Rajnikant height is what? 5.74 feet. Are you getting my point? So if you have the name and in fit, directly we use this particular class label to define the object. But we have a data name, but it is in centimeter. So we have to call this particular class method. We have to execute the class method. It will student.class method. It will create an object, and this class method will return name as well as converted into the fit to the object st1. st1 will receive name and height from this particular object, and once we display it, it will display the name and height. Okay. Third is the static method. So what is that? You just see. Third is the static method. The static method knows nothing about the class and details of the parameters only. You just see the static method. You can see the example, and it will be clear to you. So we can see name of the class is calculation. Here two methods are there. You can see here we are not passing any self, we are not passing any CLS. Okay, and here we are not. We are just calculating. We are receiving something. This function is receiving something, and it is calculating something. Another function is what mul name. It will receiving something and it will calculate something. Here self.x, self.y, these are not there. So that means x and y here, these two are nothing but the simple local variables. So we are passing x and y, and this is nothing but our local variables. Okay. Now we have to define these two are the static method. How we can define? Using right like this way, using function static method or using the decorator static method. So static method calculation dot add name. That means what this add name is a static method of the class calculation. It will create an object calculation dot add num. Similarly, we can create a static method of this particular function mulnum. So calculation dot mulnum. So now mulnum is a static method of the class calculation. So that will be stored in what? Calculation dot mulnum. Now both are what? Now both are static method. Now, if you write cal is equal to calculation, that means we create one object that is cal. Are you getting my point? Now, we can access these methods using the class name as well as using the object name. So calculation dot add number. So it will execute this particular method and it will add 5 plus 13. It will return 18. Similarly, calculation dot mulnum. So it will multiply 15 into 14. It will return 210. So we can see a static method where we can use the static method using the class name. Moreover, we can use the static method using the object also. Cal dot mulnum 10, 14. 10 into 14. That will be what? It is 140. So here we are using function to define any method as a static method. Not necessarily, we may use the decorator also. So at the rate static method. Now these two are the static method. If you write cal is equal to calculation, so we can access these two methods using the class name as well as the object. Okay, no need to define this one, so we can remove these two parts. It is much more cleaner. Okay, you can see here self variable is not there. CLS is not there. That means these are what? These are the local variables. These are not instance variable as well as the class variables. And these are what? Static method. We can execute these two methods using the class name as well as the object name. Is it okay? Difference between class method and the static method. Class method takes CLS as a first parameter, while a static method needs no specific parameter. Just we have seen, a class method can access or modify the class state, while the static method can't access or modify the class state. Static method cannot use the class variable. Static method do not aware of the class state. They are utility type methods that take some parameters and work upon those parameters. But class method should have the class as a parameter. We use @class method decorator in Python to create a class method. Here we use @static method decorator to create a static method. Are you getting my math now? So we can declare static method explicitly by using @static method. Just we have discussed. You can access static method by using class name or object reference. Definitely we have seen. We can see here, we can access the static method using the class name or using the object name. Cal is nothing but our object and calculation is nothing but our class. Passing members of one class to another class. How you can pass member of one class to another class? Just see this one. Passing object is equal to data. So what is data here? Data nothing but our class, and here passing what? 101. So constructor will receive number 101. it will set self number 101. So this number is nothing but our instance variable, and one method is there, display, and here we display the content of the instance variable. Number is okay. Now another class is there, name of the class is calculation. Okay, so here we define def odd even number. Okay, def odd even number. The name of the object is what? Method is what? Odd even, and it receives something. So what is this? So name of the object is what? Name of the class is calculation. So if you write calculation dot odd even, that means what? We want to access this particular method, and here we are passing object. So here we are passing this particular object here. So this object hold what? Number. So odd even num. This num is nothing but what? This word is nothing but our object. This is nothing but object of what? Object of data. It contains number. Okay. So this num is nothing but our object. So this odd even num we are passing what on object. It will receive one object. Now we can display, we can access this particular method using the object num. Num dot display means what? We want to access this particular, and what is num? Num is nothing but object of this particular class. So we can print num dot display. Now if you want to access this number, suppose we want to access this particular number, so we can write what? Num dot no modulo 2. If it is okay, if it is true, it will print it is an even number. Otherwise it will print it is an odd number. Moreover, in calculation, one more function is there, that is called inc. In this also we are passing the object of this particular class. So num is nothing but what? Object of this. Num is nothing but object of this. So object of this class means what? Using this particular object we can access this number. So num dot no increment. So here we are incrementing the content of this no, and we can display it. That means what? We are accessing the display of the data. So once we calculation dot inc, it will print what? The incremented value of 101. So now it is what? 102. Okay, so see the program properly. We just see the program properly. First time we are creating one object, passing object. Data is equal to 101. So what is the value of no? No will be 101. Here also it will be what? 101. Here we are accessing this particular odd even using the class name and calculator odd even. We are passing this object. So num is nothing but our object. Using this object we can access the display method, and it will print the output. Number is 101. Number is 101. Definitely we can check the content. We can access this number also. So num dot no modulo 2 is equal to 0. So 10 is what? It is an odd number. It is false. It will execute the else. It is an odd number. It will print it is an odd number. Once again we want to access this increment calculation.inc. We are passing this particular object of this class, and num. So num is nothing but what? Object of this class data. So definitely we can access this number. So num.no, we are increment this one, increment of this particular content of this particular object, and we can display it. We can get the number is 102, the updated value. So in this way we can pass member of one class to another class. Okay, so here we are passing object. Here we are passing object. Here also we are passing object. Next concept is the inner class. So what is that inner class? Sometimes we can declare a class inside another class. Such type of classes are called inner class. Class inside class is called inner class. When to use inner class? If one object depends on another object, we should go for inner class. You can see the example. So we can keep one here. We can give one space also. We can give another space also. Okay. Now this is what my outer class name is. My outer. This is what our constructor. We are inside the outer class. So once we create once we create an object, automatically it will invoke the constructor function. It will print this particular part. My inner is inside the my outer. So class is defined inside the another class. Here also one more constructor is there. We are inside the inner class, and this is the method, my inner method, and you are using self. That means it is nothing but our instance method, and it will print this is my inner method. Is it okay? Now object outer is equal to my outer. That means we are calling this particular function. That means we create an object of my outer. So object of my outer is what? Object outer. Okay. How can you access this particular class? Using the object name. So my object outer dot my inner. It will create an object of inner. It will create object of inner using the my outer. It is nothing but our what? Object inner. So how can you create? Using the object of outer as well as the name of the inner class. And definitely object of this class can access my inner method. So object inner dot my inner method, it will execute. This is my inner method. So first time it will print we are inside the outer class, first constructor. Second time we are creating object of the inner class, it will print we are inside the inner class. Third time we are calling this particular object and it will print this is my inner method. Okay. Now directly we can define inner object. How you can write? Obj inner 1 is equal to my outer bracket dot my inner. So it will print, it will execute both the constructor together. Okay. And in a single line we can create object of the inner class my inner. And using this particular object we can access my inner method. And definitely it will print this is my inner method. Okay, so this is class 1, this is class 2. So here we first create object of the outer class, then we can create object of the inner class, then we can access the inner class method. In this line we just directly we are creating object of the inner class and we are accessing the method of the inner class. Okay, one more interesting example is there. Just see this one. So first see the example properly. Name of the class is faculty. It is outer class. This is nothing but our constructor. Self.name, self.csd, self.eld. These are the instance variables. Def no self. This is nothing but our instance method of the outer class faculty. So we can access using the self. Name is nothing but our what? Name is nothing but our instance variable. Now two more inner classes are there, CS department and electronics department. In CS department constructor is there, in electronics department constructor is there, in CS department method is there, in electronics department method is there. Okay, now you just see concentrate these two lines. Self.csd is nothing but an object of the CS department. Self.eld is nothing but another object of the electronics department. So CSD and ELD, these are what? These are the object of the class CS department and electronics department respectively. Is it okay? So you can check this one. So, what is the name? What is the constructor here? Name and degree, Khan and PhD. Here, name and degree is Munda and PhD and DSc. By display, we can print the name and degree. So, how you can access? Definitely using the object we can access. Using the object of the CS department, we can access this display. Using the object of the electronics department, we can access this display. Is it okay? Now, you just see the output one by one. Outer object faculty. That means we create an object of the outer, name of this faculty. Outer object of known. That means we are calling which object? You can see here. We are calling known. Known will return the name. Name is nothing but the instance variable, and it is nothing but the faculty. That's why here the output is faculty. Okay. Next, using outer object, using CSD and ELD variable, we create two more objects, dp underscore 1 and dp underscore 2. So dp underscore 1 is an object of CS department. dp underscore 2 is nothing but a object of the electronics department. Okay, and we can access this particular display using the object of this one. So dp underscore 1 dot display, and we can access this particular display using the object of electronics department. So we can write dp underscore 2 dot display, and okay, are you getting? And the output is what as per the requirement. So it will print what? Name and degree, Khan and PhD, and for this it will print Munda and PhD DSc. Are you getting my point? So you just remember this one. These two are very important. Okay. So CSD and ELD, that means what? We are calling these two class, CS department and electronics department. So while we are accessing CSD, that means what? We want to access the class CS department. When it is ELD, that means we want to execute, we want to create object of the electronics class. Okay. So instead of 1 or 2, we may write like this: CS and electronics. Here we can write CS, and here it is electronics, and we can print it, we can get the output. Are you getting? So outer dot CSD, that means what? Using the object of faculty, we are using CSD. CSD is nothing but the class of the CS department. ELD is nothing but the class of electronics department. Next example, multi-level inner class. You can see. Okay. So outermost constructor is there, method is there. Middle constructor is there, method is there. Innermost one, method is there, no constructor is there. So innermost is inside the middle, middle is inside the outermost. Okay, so object outermost. So if you write like this way, object of outermost is equal to outermost. It will create an object. Name of is what? Object outermost. And definitely using this particular object, we can access the method of the outermost. The method of the outermost is what? Display one. So it will print what? This is an outermost. It will print this is an outermost. Next, we want to create object of the middle. So how you can access? How you can create using the object outermost? So here I write object outermost dot middle. It will create object middle. It will create object middle. How you can create? Using the object of the outermost and the name of the class middle. So we can access this particular method using object. So what we can write? We can write object outermost, object middle, name of the name of the object, dot the method name, that is so. It will print this is the middle class. And how to create the object of the innermost? Definitely object middle, you can see here two ways are there. First way is what? Object outermost dot middle dot innermost. Object outermost dot middle dot innermost. It will create inner object. It will create inner object, and through this inner object we can execute this self, or using object middle dot innermost, object middle dot innermost, it will create object innermost, inner object. So we can change it. We can use one here and we can use one here to differentiate these two. Okay, so this is what multi-level innermost. Now garbage collection. So we can see the garbage collection. Task of garbage collector is to destroy the useless object. How to identify useless object? A useless object does not have any reference variable. A garbage collector is enabled by default. We can disable it based on our requirement. So what is the use of garbage collector? It will destroy the useless object. It will free the memory. So by default it is what? Enabled. Is enabled, it is true. We have to disable it properly. We have to disable it forcefully. So definitely we need import.gc garbage collector. If you write gc.disable, it will disable the garbage collector. So if you write gc.enable is enabled, it will check it is false because it is not enabled. We have just disabled it. And to enable it, what we write? gc.enable, and once again if you check whether it is enabled or not, it will print true. Are you getting my point? So by default, garbage collector is enabled by default. It will remove the unused objects, useless objects. Next is destructor. So what is the destructor? Destructor, we can say the opposite of the constructor. So Python destructors are used to delete objects whose reference have already been deleted from the memory. Destructor is a unique method, and the method should be like this: underscore underscore del underscore underscore, and we have to place self. We have to place self here. Before destroying an object, garbage collector always calls the destructor to perform cleanup activities. Okay. Once destructor execution is completed, the garbage collector automatically destroys that object. So garbage collector by default call the destructor for cleanup activity. So we can see the example of destructor. So name of the class is my class. Okay. So this is what our constructor, this is what our destructor. So once we execute my object is equal to my class, it will execute both constructor and destructor automatically, and it will print hi there, my class is created, destructor is called for deleting the class. Are you getting my point? So in this way you can define our constructor. In this way we can define the destructor. So I think we may remove these two for the time being. Okay, so the program will invoke both constructor and destructor automatically. This is the proof. Achha, destructors and the class method, we can see. Class name is what? Inc class, increment class. So my object is equal to increment class. So the object name is what? My object. This is what our name of the n is equal to 0. This is what our class variable. Okay, this is what our constructor def in. So this is nothing but our class method, and we want to access this class variable using CLS. We want to implement it, and we can display the current content of the n value, and definitely we may call the destructor. Are you getting my point? So how to use this INC? Definitely we can. How to access this one? This is a class method. Definitely using the class name. So INC class.inc. That means what? What is the value of INC? The value will be what? So initially it is 0. Next will be what? It will be 1. Okay. So just execute once. So my object is the INC class. So the object name is what? My object. So this is nothing but our class method. So how to access it? INC class INC. So we can execute it. And first time it is what? It will print what? Increment the n value, and it is a static variable or the class variable. Now it is what? Output will be what? 1. Second time we are calling INC. Now the n value should be what? 2. That's why the output is what? 2. Now we are write my object is equal to 7. That means what? Now we want to destroy this my object. Now we want to update the content of the my object. Initially it holds the object of this class. Now you want to store the 7. We want to store 7. So it throws out the object away and reuse the my object variable to store 7. So automatically it invoke the destructor. That's why it will print destructor is called automatically. And if you print the content of the my object, now it is 7. Are you getting my point? Is it okay? So we can check it, we can execute it, and we can check it. We are creating one object. Name of the object is what? My object. Okay. This is what our class method. Definitely we can access using the class name. So inc.class.inc. It will invoke this one. It will execute this particular method, and it will increment the class variable n, and it will print the content of the n. That is what? 1. Once again we are invoking the same INC method, INC class method. It will increment the n and it will print the content of the n. Now it is 2. Now my object is equal to 7. That means we don't want my object, we don't want to use my object as method, as object. We want to store a simple 7, an integer value. So automatically constructor will throw away this object. Okay, and it will execute the destructor. That's why destructor is called automatically. This we are executing the the program will execute, the compiler interpreter will execute this particular part automatically, and it will print destructor is called automatically. And if you print the content of the my job, that is 7. Now my object is nothing but a simple variable. It holds the integer 7. Before that, my object, it stored the object address of this class in class. Okay. Now built-in class attributes. A few built-in class attributes are there. Every Python class keeps following built-in attributes, and they can be accessed using dot operator like any other attribute. Say dictionary, doc, name, module, and base. Okay, so we can check it. So we can use, if you use dictionary contain the class namespace. Doc, document string or none if undefined. Name, it will return the class name. Module, it will, module name is in which the class is defined. This attribute is main in interactive mode. So I think here we have to put this one. Here also have to put, so that you can visit it. Okay, so module name in which the class name is defined, attribute underscore underscore main underscore is in interactive mode. Base a possibly empty tuple containing the base classes in the order of their occurrence in the base class list. So we can see here. So we have one name, class name my class. Here one comment is there. Def here constructor is there, where three instance variables are there: age, weight, and height. My def my function is the method instance method, and we are accessing the instance variable. Sachin is equal to my class. Sachin is the object. We are calling the class my class. We are passing parameter 36, 72, and 62 to the age, weight, and height respectively. And using this particular object, we are accessing the method my function. So we can execute it first of all. We have executed it. Now, if you execute the my class, if you use this one, my class dot doc, my class dot name, my class dot module, we can see the output, different output. Okay, so doc will return any comments line is there or not. So it will return the comments line. You can see my class learning classes object. Name will return the name of the class. This is what our my class. And module will return underscore main. Okay, so that my class is inside the main module. So module name in which the class is defined. The class, this my class is defined inside the main module. Achha, what about the base? If you write base here, can you check it? Can you see the output? What is the base? Base is, you can write like this. Base is, and here you can see the base. You can print it. So base is class object. Okay, one any other one? The dictionary doc name 5 are there. Dictionary nom module and doc name module base. Dictionary, what is the dictionary? Dictionary is not there, na? So once, why not use dictionary also? Why not execute this one also? DIC. You can see the output. So DICT, sorry, it is DICT. You can execute it. So it holds the everything, it displays everything. You can see this one, the output of the dictionary. It is inside the main. Doc is what? Module is what? In main document, it is what? Some comments line are there. Initialization, whether initialize the constructor part, name of the function, my function, okay, and it will print the other things also. Okay, find the number of references of an object. How can check how many references are there? So import.sys, we need to import this one case wise. Object new is equal to my class, name of the class. So name of the object is what? Object name. Okay, now class name is what? My class, and we're printing something. Achha. Once we first of all disable it. So we have created object new, and we have write sys dot get ref count object new, and if you execute it, we can get the output 2. We have defined one object. We have defined only one object, but it is giving 2. Why? The count returned is generally 1 higher because it includes the temporary reference as an argument to the get ref count. So we are passing this one. That means what? Temporarily it will create on parameters. So that's why every time it is 1 higher. Achha. If you obj1 is equal to object new, if you execute it, it will be now 3. So in this way you can find the number of references of an object. Next, vars and has attribute. These two functions are there. Inbuilt functions are there, vars and has attribute. What is the use of that? Name of the class is student. Here the class variables are A, B, C, content 10, 10.5 and academician. If you print vars student, student is name of the class, it will print this one. Module is what? Main. The variables A 10, B 10.5, C is academician. Dictionary, nothing is there, and so on. Doc, nothing is there. Check, is this attribute present? Suppose we want to check whether A variable is inside the student. Is it there? A is inside the student, so we can check it. So first of all, we just disable it and we can check it. We can see yes, true. A is there. A is inside the class student. Yes, it is true. A is there. Remember one thing, one function is there that is called delete attribute. So this delete attribute will delete the attribute from the class student. So if you enable it, it will delete the attribute A, and if you check whether A is there or not, it will return what? It will return false, because we have deleted the attribute. Is it okay? Acha. Next we can see whereas already you have seen is instance and is subclass. Name of the class is student1. Constructor is what? This is a constructor. Role, name and age, these are the instance variable. St is equal to student1. St is nothing but our object. We are passing three parameters, 1, HB and 18. So roll number is 1, name is HB and age is 18. And if you write print vars st means object, it will print the output, roll number, name and the age and associated values. We can check whether st is instance of the student1. It will return true. We can check student is the instance of student1. It is a false because student is not an object. We can check is it is callable. So callable.st. So no, it is false. It is not callable. St is not callable. Next, last but not the least, one thing is there that is called object. Objp is equal to object. So what is this? The object function return an empty object. So this is what our empty object. New properties or methods cannot be added to this object. We cannot add a new method or new properties. This object is the base for all the classes. This is nothing but the base for all the classes. It holds the built-in properties and methods which are default for all the classes. Okay, so if you print the obj, we can get it is an object, and if you print the vars, okay, if you print the vars, you can see the output. This is what our content of the object. You can see all the variables are there. So it holds the built-in properties. These are built-in properties and methods which are default for all the classes. These are default for all the classes. Okay, so that is the end of this particular video. Thank you very much.